Magistrates Club. Magistrates, of course, play a major role in organizing votes in Algeria.
Convinced that the judge is the son of the people and his servants, whom he judges in the name and for him and in response to popular demand, we members of the Algerian Magistrates Club decided irrevocably to boycott the supervision of the presidential election of July 4th, 2019.
The judiciary in Algeria has always been in the service of the regime, not because the judges want it, but because the executive authority is pressing them, and this popular movement has freed us all.
And let's go to Libya now, where forces loyal to Commander Khalifa Haftar have carried out an airstrike in southern Tripoli. According to local media, the attack in the Ain Zara area targeted a military camp of a militia aligned with the UN-backed government of national accord. Last week, Haftar launched a military campaign to capture Tripoli, where the GNA is headquartered. Libya has been in turmoil since 2011. Many in the country just want the violence to stop.
We hope that the Security Council can succeed in stopping the force attacking the capital and to convince other supporting states to alter their positions, such that these forces will withdraw to their pre-offensive positions.
We, the Libyan people, were massacred on the 17th of February 2011, and we suffered 42 years of military rule. There is no return for military rule, and this would happen over our dead bodies. After all the sacrifices and bloodshed, we will fight against military rule. This is why I'm here, for a civil state.
Meanwhile, Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte says any foreign military intervention in Libya would not resolve the conflict. Instead, he warned it might trigger a refugee exodus across the Mediterranean.
Obviously, we work every day, and yesterday you heard about the crisis cabinet that will meet again and again, because there is a real risk of a humanitarian crisis that we want to avoid. When we think of Libya, it is obviously not only a question related to migration. We also think of pacifying a country that is fundamental for the balance of Northern Africa, the Middle East, the whole Mediterranean, and therefore also for the European Union.
Meanwhile, concerns are growing over poor sanitary conditions and the outbreak of disease in Libya, while hopes of a peace deal fade. Here's CGTN's Adel Al-Mahraoui with more.
Concerns are growing in Libya, and international organizations are warning of an increased humanitarian crisis within Tripoli, as has been the siege of war continuing there for 6 continuous days. The World Health Organization is warning that there might be a spread of disease, specifically measles and tuberculosis, beside other diseases that are related to the hygiene in general, as Tripoli's infrastructure is deteriorating. And UNHCR is saying that 1,500 refugees must be evacuated immediately. The UN calls for a ceasefire, and the EU is starting to evacuate its missions in Tripoli. Other diplomatic missions from Asia and other countries have also recalled their representatives in Tripoli. Germany has vowed to put 500,000 euros to assist the humanitarian situation in Tripoli. On the other hand, it seems that the trust between the two governments is disappearing. General Khalifa Haftar's government, the Eastern Bloc, has issued a warrant to arrest Faiz al-Sarraj, the head of the Presidential Council, the government recognized by the United Nations, and other 8 prominent figures in his cabinet. Al-Sarraj's army says that Sarraj is no longer in control of Tripoli and that terrorist groups are there. Now it is becoming more clear that there is an intention, a clear intention from Haftar to remove Sarraj entirely from the picture and proceed with his army towards Tripoli and to gain control over the Libyan capital, which puts any hopes for negotiations and a peaceful political solution far away from becoming any reality anytime soon. Adel Al-Mahraoui, CGTN, Cairo.
Well, time now for a short break. Here's what's still ahead on the program. Coming up, the Ebola outbreak in the DRC is still not an international crisis. And looming famine and logistical challenges hinder humanitarian efforts in Mozambique after Cyclone Idai.
From coastal defense to open waters, from a surface fleet to a comprehensive force, the People's Liberation Army Navy is undergoing a strategic transformation. Come on board with me, Han Bin, for an inside look as China's Navy sets sail into the future.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
The Ebola outbreak in parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo does not constitute a global health emergency. That's according to the World Health Organization. The chairperson of the WHO International Health Regulations Emergency Committee says there is no added benefit in declaring an emergency at this time. The committee has, however, expressed concern over the increase in transmission rates in specific areas and the potential risk of spreading to other countries. This particular Ebola outbreak is the second biggest in history, infecting 1,200 people and killing 164.
The committee advises WHO and all partners to identify, target and scale up community dialogue and participation, engagement of traditional healers and other community engagement tactics to strengthen and broaden community acceptance in this region troubled by unrest.
We're calling on the international community to step up its financial commitment to ending the outbreak. We cannot intensify our efforts if we don't have enough funds.
Let's go to Mozambique now, where the government and aid agencies are in a race against time as a looming famine threatens to make an already bad situation worse. More than 700,000 hectares of crop fields were destroyed by the raging floodwaters following Cyclone Idai. One of the worst affected areas is Buzi in central Mozambique. And as our correspondent Robert Nagila reports, logistical challenges are hampering humanitarian efforts in the area.
Amelia Zinaramwe has toiled on this land in Buzi for the last 3 decades. She was getting ready to harvest her maize crop when Cyclone Idai and the floods that followed destroyed her home and her crops.
I am suffering. I don't have any food or a place to sleep, not even seedlings to replant.
Slowly, she uproots sweet potato leaves. It's all she can afford to put on the dinner table. The residents who own these farms are small-scale farmers who depend on their crop for sustenance. It was just about ready for harvest when it was swept away by the floods, a situation replicated across this entire region. This is all that's left. The remainder shredded by the raging floods across more than 1.7 million acres. Livestock too were not spared. Aid agencies are warning of a looming famine as a result.
80% of the people in this region are relying on these crops or fishery, which has been basically wiped out.
The UN says close to 1 million people from affected areas have already received food assistance, with a further 10,000 on daily food rations. But it's a race against time. Not everyone in the affected areas in central Mozambique has received humanitarian assistance due to lack of access.
There are a lot of challenges. Logistics is a very difficult issue. There are still many areas that can only be accessible by helicopter or not even a landing land. So the roads are being cleared since the disaster happened, but there's still a lot of places that cannot be accessible. Communications are also an issue.
In places like Buzi, one of the worst affected areas, aid has begun arriving. Thousands of residents from here were evacuated earlier to makeshift camps in Beira. For many, like Amelia, who stayed behind, help cannot come fast enough. It will be the difference between life and death. Robert Magila, CGTN, Buzi, Mozambique.
And let's go to Rwanda now, where thousands are able to consult medical specialists owing to a special partnership between Rwanda and China. Every year, at least 12 Chinese doctors arrive to offer services to a section of villages in Rwanda.
Though they don't speak the local languages, these doctors have an easy time understanding the problem. The patient wants to know whether he is on the path to recovery, and with a reassuring touch, the doctors assure him that he is. Welcome to Masaka Hospital in Rwanda's Kicukiro district, a hospital built out of a partnership between Rwanda and China in 2011.
Rwanda has a shortage of medics, so the government of China and Rwanda agreed to send medical doctors to work here and provide medical services to the people.
Every year since, doctors from China have arrived in Rwanda to bolster the healthcare services. They work at 2 local hospitals. Masaka Hospital, the bigger facility, serves about 400,000 people in the area around it.
So we offer general services. We have surgery, we have internal medicine, we have pediatrics, neonatology, we have HIV/AIDS services, tuberculosis services, nutrition, theater, we have ambulances, we have social services.
And with the help of the Chinese doctors, they can offer more services, including traditional Chinese medicine. As a result of this partnership between Rwanda and China, patients who visit Masaka Hospital have access to these Chinese specialists. But that's not all. Doctors at the hospital also benefit from the knowledge transfer. The Chinese doctors share new techniques. Their Rwandan counterparts share knowledge about local diseases. Though the work is satisfying, it isn't easy being away from home and family.
I get support from my family. My parents are 8 years old and they encouraged me to join this medical team. So did my husband and child. My teacher was also on the medical team. It was my dream to come here and help the people, and I don't regret it.
The specialists find comfort in the thought that they are making a difference in this community, and when they leave at the end of the year, another group will arrive to continue the work. Bulletin, CGTN, Kicukiro, Rwanda.
And to South Africa now, where a map of Africa monument has been commissioned and developed to boost tourism in the Agulhas National Park, which lies about 200 kilometers outside of Cape Town. The structure was put in place by South Africa's Department of Tourism, along with the National Parks authorities, in an attempt to enhance visitor experience in the southernmost tip of the African continent. CGTN's Travis Andrews has this report.
Every year, thousands of visitors make the pilgrimage to the Agulhas National Park, which is not only the southern tip of the continent, but it's also the official meeting point of the Atlantic and Indian Ocean. Now a new 3D relief map has been unveiled, whose symbolism is meant to pay homage to the mighty African continent and all the countries which inhabit it. The map took over a year to construct at a cost of over $1 million. And as anticipation built, more and more visitors began to make the journey to this special geographical location.
A lot of people come to see it, about almost 100,000 people, 2 months, every 2 months, 3 months. A lot of tourism from outside. A lot of them come with the buses, and every time they get picnics. We get about 20 people. They have, how can you say, funeral also there by the southernmost point.
The monument boasts a circumference of 30 meters and a design which shows the direction of the compass, including the representation of different African countries with its topographical features. It is also a place of quiet contemplation, a location of serenity after a long journey from countries far and wide. For locals and tourists, this monument is not only a tribute to the African continent, but it's also been seen as a work of art.
it's totally amazing for me. We started to come here when they were still busy doing the construction, and it's just an amazing place to bring your children if you're out for a walk.
It's amazing, it's beautiful, and I think that's unique. I am amazed for get the chance to know something like that.
For now, the phase 2 of the project is set to commence, with new infrastructure such as restaurants and walkways due for construction. The Department of Tourism also hopes to start training field guides in Mandarin so that they can tap into the burgeoning Chinese tourism market. Travis Andrews, CGTN, Cape Agulhas, South Africa.
And coming up in your sports news. Morocco, Cote d'Ivoire, South Africa and Namibia make up the group of death for this year's Africa Cup of Nations.
Africa, where champions are made, records are broken, legends are born. We're there for every goal, for every knockout, for every step of the way. Match Point, only on CGTN.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
In your sports news, hosts Egypt were handed a favourable draw for the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. The draw for the expanded 24-team tournament that runs from June 21st to July 19th was staged against the spectacular backdrop of the Sphinx and the pyramids on the Giza Plateau in Cairo. Egypt will take on the Democratic Republic of Congo, Uganda and Zimbabwe in Group A. Nigeria take on Guinea in Group B, as well as first-time qualifiers Madagascar and Burundi. Group C will contain Senegal, Algeria, Kenya and Tanzania. Continental powerhouses Morocco, Ivory Coast and South Africa were placed together in a tough Group D alongside Namibia. Tunisia and Mali look favourites in Group E, which also includes Mauritania and Angola. Group F is harder to call, with holders Cameroon drawn alongside Ghana, Benin and Guinea-Bissau.
The World Cup is in summer, the European Cup is in summer, the Copa America in summer, so Africa just follow what a lot of continent did before, so I'm sure it will be a fantastic Africa Cup. Now, the Africa Cup is very amazing when you win. This is the most important.
We don't have ambitions to want to win the cup. we don't have that ambitions. For us is here we need to upset one of those three teams. We're going to play a very strong role in deciding who's going to go through to the next round.
I think that we have our chances to come out of this group, and then we will see. Each team is difficult, you know, it's a long season now. They will finish in May. They have to recover, and we have to make a good preparation. I think we will come also to Egypt to prepare the 10 last days before the competition. We will come here and do another friendly before we start our competition.
To martial arts now. The South African Kung Fu Youth Development Squad is set to compete in China at the Hong Kong International Kung Fu Tournament. The squad of 10 young athletes from the Western Cape will compete against more than 9,000 of the world's best Kung Fu athletes. Here's CGTN's Travis Andrews with more.
It's all systems go for Team SA as they head off to the spiritual home of Kung Fu and compete against 52 other nations at this year's Hong Kong International Kung Fu competition. The squad consists of both boys and girls and are being led by legends of Kung Fu World Martial Arts champion MJ Lee, who is also using the sport to uplift the lives of these young athletes.
We are now using Kung Fu, the ancient Chinese modality, but we're using it as an aid to enhance the lives of our youth in South Africa. And what we have now gotten underway is practically a learnership program where they're studying Kung Fu and they're also learning Chinese culture, and at the same time it gives them an opportunity to compete internationally.
The athletes handed their team kit at an event attended by a number of dignitaries, including China's Deputy Consul General in Cape Town, who has been a key figure in getting the squad to Hong Kong.
You know, Kung Fu is kind of culture which can link the different peoples, especially to promote the friendship between our two countries. That's why we support more and more South African young people, especially from the Western Cape.
South Africa's first female Kung Fu athlete will also be competing in China, which has shown just how positive this growing global sport has been on local communities.
We really welcome this amazing opportunity for so many of our young boys who may not otherwise get the opportunity, and it keeps them out of crime, out of gangsterism, out of all of that.
For now, though, 2 years of preparation is finally over, and the squad looks set to go up against some fairly tough competition. But the team believes the deep cultural experiences they will receive in China has already made all of them winners. This will be the second development team to be competing in Hong Kong. Last year's squad came back with 8 medals, and this year's team hopes to do much better. Travis Andrews, CGTN, Cape Town.
And in motorsport, Valtteri Bottas is set to start Formula One's